Your job is to put out the best product, to take, the good ideas and make them work. And also remind people that a partnership means everybody brings something to the table, because there are sometimes people will come and say, I want to partner with you. And what they really mean is, I want you to do this. So sometimes you have to remind people that, you know, partnership is everybody coming, everybody who's involved is coming together and bringing something to the table. It's not, here, this is my vision. Now you do it. Doesn't work that way.
Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones.
Hey, you know what you're watching. Woo-wee. What? Talk about it. You are watching Hats Off with G. Y'all see it. You gotta get your shoulders together when you start off, right? You gotta be able to groove today, okay? Hey, y'all see it. Y'all see it. Hold up. Perfect timing. How you doing? Listen, if y'all don't know, you're watching Hats Off with G Dash Jones. That's a fact. Oh man. By the way, that was You Walked In by Dyad Music. Okay, if y'all don't know Dyad Music, get familiar. That was You Walked In. It's a vibe. It's good. You gotta get your shoulders together though. It is made for shoulder movement. Now, in case you don't know, you are watching Hats Off with G Dash Jones, the place where we talk to the change makers, the game changers, and get the keys from the gatekeepers. Now, here's what we're gonna do today. Today, in case you don't know, I did a quick drive-by of some of the things that my guest has accomplished, right? But she has been working with in a capacity of the cultural affairs since the 80s, right? Which is
Okay.
wild for a spring chicken.
All right, let me stop you there. Okay, now when you say that,
She's only about 25.
it's been off and on since the 80s culture affairs, but we're not supposed to be talking about years here.
I told you she only 20. She only 23 in 2 pennies. Okay, I didn't do this.
That's exactly right.
Only 20. I don't even know how people age like that. That's what they told me.
I don't
Right?
know how that works, but it works. Yeah,
Now,
I'm not older than 23. But yeah, I start with back in the 80s with the Frawley administration. I dabbled in that for a little bit. Yeah, so
okay, so now through several different administrations, literally had a hand in several different initiatives. Again, when I mentioned the Art Loop, the theater in the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. If you go back to the Fringe Festival, where that goes. We're gonna talk about it. Shipley Lofts, which is a wild concept to me, and we're gonna talk about it. And the Urban Arts Exchange, which took the police stables that they weren't, that wasn't being inhabited at that point, and then turned it into something to be a concert venue, where we have a concert series. Not only did it get revamped under your leadership, it also got added into the actual having a concert series, right? So there's so much here, a lot going on. Before we get there, tell people a little bit about yourself. What you want people to know?
you just did. What do I have to say?
No, there's more. You got kids and stuff.
One of the things is that the stables, the old police stables at 16th and Clifford Brown Walk, they were being inhabited, but they were being inhabited by things that don't be any good, if you know what I mean. There were whatever lived in those dilapidated stables, nobody wanted to make friends with them. So yeah, it took a number of years. The idea was this is the Urban Artists Exchange now, specifically that, because has made a real impact on the city, that particular venue. There was a few years ago, the creative placemaking was a buzzword around the country, and there was a lot of money being thrown after that. We weren't able to take advantage of any of the creative placemaking dollars. However, this was a creative placemaking project where you take nothing or something that has potential, like that 1 acre parcel at 16th and Clifford Brown Walk, and you turn it into something that is arts focused, and driven by the arts, and makes a difference in the community. So that's what we've done over there. Um, and it
Wow.
I mean, you've been there. How many weeks? I don't know how many weeks you were there to do the opening this year, G Dash, for our weekly concert series. But you've been there to see. It's an absolutely beautiful place. One of the things I do want to mention that a lot of people don't know about the Urban Artists Exchange, those who do know about it, is that underground there's a wastewater management system that is actually having an environmental impact on the entire community and the Brandywine River, where when there's a rain event, the rain and the water goes into the ground and is like distributed out in a way that is not a negative impact on the community, and that's something that's underground. So there are so many different things that the Urban Artists Exchange is doing in a positive way for the entire community.
Okay, now, before I get into that, because that you just, I didn't even realize, a lot of people don't understand the rain redistribution center that's happening there. They don't even know. But before we get there, right?
Mhm.
And that by the way, that is a beautiful space. I want to take it back because now your journey into the arts.
Yeah.
How did you wind up into this space of arts and musical arts, and like how did you wind up there?
A few years ago when I applied for my first passport, I had to find, my birth certificate and a bunch of other documents. And one of the things I ran across was my mom, God rest her soul, saved my kindergarten report card. And what it said is she has a very pleasant singing voice, and she loves to sing, and she loves to finger paint. And so I was 5 years old. So, that's when it started. I mean, it's just something that has always been a part of me, whether or not it was, something that I recognized as being a part of me or not. I mean, I've just always loved everything that was about the arts. I mean, I've taken dance and singing lessons and all sorts of things, but yeah, always been a part of me. So since 5 years old is the answer to your question. That's
Okay, so since 5, you've been creating art as well as singing you being a vocalist. Now, so when did you know that this was your passion? Like, was there a moment that was like, yo, I love this?
You know what? I don't know that there was a moment. What I do know is that if it was something that for whatever reason was taken away from me, it would leave me with a huge void, a huge, emptiness that probably would not be able to be filled with something else. So fortunately, there are so many ways that you can be involved, in the creative industry that it's not necessary for it to ever go away. I mean, I don't always, I have done performances and things like that, but like creating the Urban Artist Exchange, coming up with new ideas and pitching them to partners. Like with Jonathan Whitney, I spoke with him about having a residency for young children, for young jazz artists. So we came up with the Boise Lowry Living Jazz residency. So doing things like that, keeps me feeling whole and enriched by the arts.
Got you. Now I'm curious because in this world, right, you have an understanding of the arts, and then you create opportunities with the arts. How did you learn the business of the arts? See, a lot of times people don't, right? It can be our passion, and that's beautiful, right? But unless you know the business, it's different. So how were you able to kind of gain that information?
Experience, I mean, just in many cases, just diving in and, sometimes being more successful than other times, but just diving in and as you said, realizing that passion is not enough. Vision is not enough. Being able to, take that passion and infuse it with some, having your right and your left brain working at the same time. So that you have to decide, you have to make good business decisions. I mean, every idea is not a good idea. So you have to just sift through that and say, okay, how is this possible? I mean, not that anything is impossible, but it's like, is this possible? And will it make a difference? I mean, and that's a big thing for me personally. Will it make a difference? Now, I mean, it might even be something that you think about, an idea or vision, or, or just a thought that you think about and you go, no, that's a bad idea. I mean, there are some bad ideas. There are other things where you say, not now. So let me put that, I'm going to put this on the side and I'll revisit it later. Because it's not that it's a bad idea. It's just that it needs to bake a little bit more. It needs to marinate a little bit more. It needs to be set on the side while I take this other idea that I can go ahead and build a team around and get this, executed and to make a difference and make it something that will have sustainability. I mean, that's the other thing, that will have sustainability. Um, and it just comes sometimes, G Dash, it comes by trial and error. I mean, and I've taken business classes. I did some pre-law classes, which is very helpful, by the way, because being able to contract and being able to read through a contract with the support of people whose business it is, to read through contracts, but being able to take that first look at a contract and go, okay, this, we need to think about this, because many times a contract is written in favor of the person, who wrote the contract. So you have to be able to take that and go, well, I know, yeah, 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 they were taking care of them. Let me take care of us by reading through this contract and then figuring out, no, this is not good for us. So yeah, so it's just you learn and you listen. You interact with other people who've been doing it longer than you have, better than you have, and you just take those lessons and try to put them to use.
Okay, now just so you know, so during my show, I like to drop some gems just for the people who watching. I like to say this for the people in the back. One of the things that she said that's very important that people don't pay attention to when getting a contract is it is typically written in favor of those who wrote it. So if somebody is giving you a contract, it may be written in favor of them, not you. Why does that matter? Because, and they're not wrong for it. What they're doing is they're thinking of everything that can go wrong on their end. It's up to you to think of the things that can go wrong on your end.
Right.
Ta-da.
And if it's, and if it's your project or your event or, your gig or whatever, you have to go, you're not doing it for them.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, they're doing it for them. You're doing it for whatever your community is. So that's what you have to, that's what you have to think about. I mean, it is, and it's not that it's, I mean, and then what you do is, you have a conversation, and then you come to a place where it's, everybody benefits, because it is, it should never be one way or the other. It should be, just melding of the minds and having a conversation, and then everybody gets something out of the experience.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, right. So now, another interesting thought, right? You go through you get a lot of ideas, you get a lot of submissions. Like you said, all ideas not good ideas, and some ideas are just not right now. In that vein, you also work in a world, just transparency as a Black woman, where you deal with a lot of egos. You deal with a lot of egos. How do you manage the not a good idea or the not right now, but dealing with the politics and the egos and the this, the that's, all the other things? How are you able to balance all of those things for progression's sake?
Well, I don't, listen, you do what you have to do. And, not everybody's going to be happy. And you just have to enter the arena knowing that you're not going to make everybody happy. That's not your job,
Mm.
to make everybody happy. Your job is to put out the best product, to take, the good ideas and make them work. And also remind people that a partnership means everybody brings something to the table, because there are sometimes people will come and say, I want to partner with you. And what they really mean is, I want you to do this. So sometimes you have to remind people that, partnership is everybody coming, everybody who's involved coming together and bringing something to the table. It's not, here, this is my vision. Now you do it. Doesn't work that way. I mean, I think you just have to accept that, you're not going to make everybody happy. And sometimes you have to say no. I mean, one of the things that my daughter has said to me a couple of times, she's walked away and she'll go, I think I think you just told me no, but I'm not sure. And I mean, that's, she says, and then, and as she got older, she would say, my mom can like cuss you out or say no, and you walk away, you go, I think I just got cussed out, but I'm just not sure. And sometimes you just have to just kind of massage your conversation in a way, because you don't, the idea isn't to piss people off. The idea isn't to, have somebody, not like you. The idea is to try to explain, why it is that you just can't do something for whatever reason at that time. It's a dance.
Absolutely. Sometimes you got to cha-cha.
Sometimes you got to cha-cha, sometimes you got to rumba, sometimes you just got to better sit as wallflower on the side. Don't even get on the dance floor. So I mean, it's just all of that. It's just all of that.
Yes, yes, yes. I will say, fun fact, and I don't know if you know, I've noticed it. I've been around you tell people no in different ways before. I've been around you telling people no in conversational ways, and I've been around where you was like, I don't think that's going to happen. And it's just,
Listen,
just depending on the need in the sense of it.
have to just cut to the chase. Some,
Yeah.
and this isn't just about me. This is in any situation, but we all do this. You have to assess the situation, try to read the person, try to read your audience. I mean, you're a performer. You have to try to read your audience. And if you're on stage or you're in front of people, and you put out there what you're putting out there, sometimes you got to shift gears because your audience is telling you, you're not landing, so you have to figure out, you have to read your audience, shift gears, and yeah, you have to sometimes just go no.
Absolutely. So like, stop that. Don't do it again now. Okay. Now, let's go to one of your yeses, right? And this was interesting to me because of how of the tenure of it. We ain't got to mention the tenure of it, but you know it. What was the vision? Now, the art loop, so Wilmington, so Delaware, within city limits, probably has, I'll say, 10 gallery spaces or 10 spaces that are utilized as galleries, which is very interesting to me because that's a very rich art place. Like it's not normal for how they would consider Wilmington, Delaware, right? It's a very rich place. So how did it come about for you to say, hey, let's do this art loop thing where people are able to connect into to different galleries and get light refreshments in the process?
This happened back in the 80s is when the art loop happened. And that was, again, back in the late 80s. I mean, and it was just something that just grew. You had your traditional venues, that do exhibits, like museum. But the art loop evolved over the years, and there have been times it's had its highs and its lows. There have been times when we've had as many as 35, 40 venues just within city limits on the art loop. So it evolved a few years ago, and I want to give a shout out to a colleague of mine who has since moved to Cincinnati and is still doing her thing out there in a big way, Jenny Barton. I left the city. When I came back under Mayor Baker, the art loop, we had just sort of lost its luster. I mean, there were, it was still going, but there was something that was just missing. And so I ran into Jenny Barton, who had this little gallery on Washington Street, I think about 7th and Washington, now right across the street from where the Artomat is now. And I met her and I said, this woman is amazing. So we brought her in. We brought her in, reshaped the art loop so that we were doing all of the marketing in-house, so we could control, the timing on people submitting and things like that. Long story short, Jenny Barton just totally transformed the Art Loop again, where we, on a Friday night downtown Wilmington and even in other neighborhoods, packed with people, just absolutely packed with people. Um, so it has evolved. Like I said, it's had its highs and its lows. Right now, we're probably at this place where it's not low, it's not at its peak. It's just kind of steady. And I know you've been involved. We've had you on the shuttle. Thank you, Parks and Recreation, Ian Smith and his team, Vicky Davis, that does the shuttle for the Art Loop. And so, that was an idea that I don't know if you came to us or we came to you. Did you come to us with the idea?
Yeah, no, yes, I submitted the proposal, and I submitted the idea to Tish, and then because I had done spoken word in art spaces before, and it just was like, wait, how about we travel around and do this? Me and my musical accompaniment, shouts out to Grillo. Yeah, and then it came to fruition. But this ain't about me. This about you. So okay.
But see, that's the thing. It's about you, about people like you, and it's about people like you who have through the years have they've just added something different to, or adding not necessarily different, but also there's just infusing a different energy into the types of things that we did. So this year, that was one of the things that we did. In the past, we've done things like an after party for the Art Loop. We've encouraged venues to have performances, and sometimes we've even picked up the cost of the performances. Or look, just making sure that it doesn't get stale. That there's like the Art Loop since the '80s, like 30-something years. If you continue doing something exactly the way you did it 30 years ago, eventually people are going to go, yeah, right, whatever. So you just want to be able to add just a little something different so that people go, that sounds exciting. Let me go check that out. And that's what we encourage. We try to encourage the participants on the Art Loop to, do something different. People are not going to come to see the same thing that they've been seeing for the past over and over again. They just won't. And there's nothing we can do about that. It's up to the exhibition space to go, let me make sure people read this or hear about it and say, well, damn, I've never seen anything like that before. I've got to show up. That's the type of attitude you have to have.
Absolutely. Now, in that vein, right? Let's. The Reading Gallery is in the government building. I'm gonna tell you the first time. So just so the world knows, when I was prepping for the Art Loop the first time, and there was no sense of prepping. Don't prep for improv. Everything was changed the day of the Art Loop. So I walked around. I went around to me and Grillo. We went to all the sites, and all the art was different. So it didn't matter. But we went to the Reading Gallery. We was like, this is a government building. Wait, but there's art in both places. Like the Mezzanine Gallery and the Reading Gallery are both in the art in the government building. What made you decide to say, you know what, let's repurpose this government space for art?
Well, it was an idea that had been bubbling around in my head when I worked for Baker, and then when I came back for Perzicki, the lobby walls were still. I mean, the lobby was horrible. First of all, the walls were this. I don't know what color they were supposed to be, or had been at one point, but the lobby was horrible. So the first thing that I went to Perzicki and pitched was, can we just paint the walls and put up a hanging system where we can put art up on a rotating basis, just a changing. And, he and chief of staff said, yeah, let's go for it. So the first thing we did was paint the walls, put up a hanging system, and then the entire lobby was redone. But we had these two big, what I call canvases, those two big walls. Nothing was on them. And it's like, you can't have, this space is just begging for something creative, to happen. So, I mean, that's sort of how that worked. Went to Mayor Perzicki and Chief of Staff Washington and said, can we do this? We'd like to do this. It's going to make a difference in the lobby. Even before the lobby was renovated, it made a difference. And, as you noted, it's a huge difference. I mean, you walk in there now and people stop and they see the art. I mean, and when we have the art exhibited for the artists who are exhibiting, we take zero commission if there are sales. And we encourage the artists to sell their work, and we take zero commission and pay for the art loop reception, and encourage the artists again to show up, reach out to your network so people will come in, see your art, purchase your art, and enjoy what it is we have to offer. So I mean that was that was the genesis of that. Just these two blank canvases that screamed for some art.
So okay, so you have a curator's eye essentially. Like you walk in and you're just like, nah, I need to see stuff here. Why is that wall so wally?
I don't know about curatorial, but I do know that it's like that's a wall. I mean, it's like a blank wall. What are you going to do about that? So yeah.
Okay. By the way, in case you don't know, you are watching Hats Off with G Jones every Thursday at 8:30. This is what we do. We can have the conversations with the game changers and the change makers. Now, today I have the amazing Tina Betz with me, and I wanted to ask you, because I mentioned this a couple times, because my brain kind of exploded when I thought about how logistically it works. Shipley Lofts. Right. For those of you who don't know, we are Wilmington is one of the few places in the country that has a place where there is discounted living to a certain extent for creatives. My brain breaks at the logistical nightmare that sounds, but what was the vision? Like there's a lot there. How did that happen?
Well, again, there was this building right at 7th and Shipley Street it had good bones, I mean, but it had a tree growing through the roof and, falling apart. And, and G Dash, I mean, I think you've been very generous with, attributing, the success of these ideas to me. But I have to tell you, it was a whole team of people who got together. And there are a couple of us who did, quite frankly, have to push for the idea this should be for creatives. Because we did get some pushback. No, we can't. Because it would, I don't know. There were these reasons like you can't just say that it can be for a certain industry of people. We go, yeah, but they're doing it in blah 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 city. How can if they're doing it there, then how did they meet the challenges of whatever the laws or what I can't even remember what it was. So we were able to convince people, yeah, this would not be unlawful to say, it would be for creatives. So, and then, I was working for the city again back then for Baker. So I was the city's point person and just helping to go through the permitting process and, and just making sure that it happened and that the group that it was benefiting the most was the group that needed it the most. And that was, our creative friends, our artists in the city. So yeah, it's that's one of those things that happened. Fortunately, I was a part of it. Yeah.
Listen, so just so you know, I attribute some of these things to you because they are all because you had a hand in them, right? Like you said, you saw it through, like you did, and they all live in such a blatant art space. It's not even like it's a secret that part of what you do is fight for creatives, right? That is a part of your mindset and how you're moving, and how you move this needle. And these are all things that, like, I mean, I'm sure that there has been pushback on all of these initiatives. What's that like? Because again, you get into the politics of people with power and money, and again, the Cultural Affairs Office is a government appointed office. So how do you deal with some of that pushback when you're trying to kind of get through the initiative or create it? Like, how does that work?
You just wear it down.
I'll wear you down like Family Matters in Urkel, huh?
And you just you just hang in there. You just decide. And this isn't just me. These are for I mean, there are a whole network of me's around the country, around the world, who just know that if it's good, then you just hang in there and you figure out how to, you know, you know, how to speak to the people who can help make it happen, who can take it and make it a reality. How do you know what is it, not telling them what you want them to hear, telling them what they need to hear, what they
What?
need to hear, how it is that, why it is good for them to have this happen. So, just kind of, again, it's that delicate dance. And, I mean, quite frankly, G Dash, I've been really, really fortunate to work for people who seem to have just got it. I mean, I'm not saying that, you walk in and you go, I want to do this. And they go, oh yeah, go ahead and do it. I mean, it's you have to remember you are talking to politicians, who are very, who are usually more pragmatic than not. Many times they're business people. Again, that pragmatic. So you have to say to them, this isn't just about the arts. This is about, for example, for the Urban Arts Exchange, this is about this crappy place that is totally messing up the east side of Wilmington, an historic district, and it should, and it sends a message out to the people who live all around there that you don't care, that no
Mm.
one cares. So what can we do? Yeah, we can tear down the stables, plant some grass, and make it decent. But we already have that. We have that. So many. Let's try something different. Let's try this. And I mean, and a lot of times people will, you still have to hang in there because people don't see success many times right out of the box. They just don't. And again, it's like, when people come to you, I have a vision. Well, okay, you have a vision. Now, what work are you going to do to make that vision a reality? How are you going to do it? So I mean, you have to convince people like the Longwood Foundation, who it's not that easy to convince. The Welfare Foundation, the state of Delaware, and then, of course, the city of Wilmington, convince them to put, to be a partner. They bring money to the table. That's what they bring to the table. The city of Wilmington brings money and of course, a lot of other things, their services, public works, blah blah blah, who did the wastewater management part of it. So that's how you go, this is a good idea and it's good for you. This isn't about me. This is about you and the community that you serve. So yeah. So there you go. Get- I
So
can remember what the question was, and that's why.
no, no, you answer. I'm gonna tell you how you answered it because this is great, and this is what I want people to know. In case you in the back, what I need you to know: find a hidden win. She didn't say that, but that's what she was saying. Sometimes, what you're pitching or what you're offering, has to be what's the other win. The obvious win, i.e., we talked about the Urban Artists Exchange. The obvious one is the beautification of the community.
Right.
That win doesn't matter to some people. The hidden win is to show the people, the constituents, that they care. Oh, that was a hidden win for some people. The other hidden win is, hey, we need to do something with this rainwater that can collect and cause certain flooding. That's another hidden win,
You go.
right? Find the hidden win, not the obvious one.
That, that is exactly right. And that's what you do in every single situation when you can. And sometimes, I mean, it's just like, and I don't know if you follow football, but sometimes you got to call an audible. You're out there on the field and you think, this is the play that's going to work. But then you look around and you go, no, I got to call an audible on this field. That means that, I've got to change direction a little bit because this play is not going to work. And so every now and then you do that. I mean, you talked about improvisation a little bit earlier. That's what that's all about sometimes. Sometimes you walk in with a story, and again, reading your audience, you go, well, this is not working, So let me see. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But even when it doesn't, G Dash, you don't walk out and say, okay, well, it's done. And you walk on and go, how can I, this is a good idea. It's it's going to make a difference in the community to whoever. I'm going to reshape this and I'm going back again. I'm getting back out on the field. I'm getting back out on the field because, until the fourth quarter, and sometimes you got to go into overtime. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to go into overtime, but you stay out there and you play the game until the game is over. But then the game is over, but then next Sunday comes and you get back on the field again. You know what I mean? So that's sort of the sports analogy about this for all
Absolutely.
there who
Yeah.
do sports. But you just hang in there. You hang.
Listen, audibles over egos. Audibles over egos. Call them. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, right. So now, Shipley Lofts, UAE touched on. Now, okay. So there's this festival, right? Now it starts as this fringe festival. It evolves into this Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. But you, my friend, had your hat in both. Okay. What was it like watching this thing start from inception and grow to such a massive undertaking?
There again, I'm going to give shout outs to a couple of people. In the very beginning, and again, this was back in the late '80s. I came up with this idea. There was nothing really happening as far as outdoor festivals or outdoor music in the community where people could just show up in a big way. So came up with this idea. How about and it wasn't just about, well, let's do a concert. It was like, let's do a multi-day, let's do a multi-day music festival in downtown Wilmington. And that was, so those two things, a multi-day music festival in downtown Wilmington. And we call it Jazz on the Square. And I worked with a person who you may know, Dave Woolley, who was connected to, agents. He had done booking before. So I went to the city and I said, here's an idea, a multi-day music festival in Rodney Square in the center of the business district. People will come. And talking about pushback. Here's what I heard. Nobody's going to come to downtown Wilmington to listen to music.
Ouch. Not my city.
Yeah, nobody's going to come to downtown Wilmington and listen to music. And it's like, well, I don't understand. Why not? Because I grew up in Wilmington, and I remember the day on Easter Sunday when downtown Wilmington was packed with people, and on other occasions during the August Quarterly, downtown Wilmington was packed with people. So I knew that, people would come to downtown Wilmington. Well, I got to tell you, the first year that we did, it was called Jazz on the Square. It wasn't the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival yet. Very few people came, but we had people like Bongo Santa Maria. We had Pieces of a Dream. We had I didn't even think that I was going to have to think about this, but the lineup was wonderful. Rained 2 of the 3 nights. Yeah. So, but we hung in there, G Dash. I did it the first few years. I left. A new administration came in, thank God, kept it going. I came back again. And then we just continued to grow. Before I left, it was Jazz on the Square. Then folks from the community, including Ray Jones Avery, came and pitched to the city that it be changed to honor Clifford Brown. And so that's how that happened. Again, fast forward almost 40 years later, it's been called the largest free jazz festival, outdoor jazz festival, music festival on the East Coast. So, and there are very few festivals of this caliber that happen around the country. And if folks, every now and then I go on Wikipedia and look at, the past performers for the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival, and even I'm impressed about who has performed here. International, national, our local folks. I can, start naming off many of our local talent who has performed at the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. So just across the board. And nobody does it the way the city of Wilmington does a multi-day festival. They just don't. And I've been to a number. It doesn't happen. It very rarely happens anyplace else.
What's the difference in your opinion?
I think the difference is that we're, I think the size of our city, the fact that, we have city government that is really committed to making this important so that even when corporate dollars went away during the pandemic, when the focus shifted to other priorities, the city of Wilmington stepped in to make sure that this continued to happen. So, we're still working through trying to get those corporate dollars back, but, the commitment from the city, I think just to caring, and I mean, I've had people over the years call me, I mean, not just once or twice, but many times from all over the world asking when the date, all they wanted to know was the date. They didn't even want to know who was performing so that they could plan their vacation and come into Wilmington to see the jazz festival. We have many people. I mean, it's for our folks here in the city of Wilmington. That's the bulk of the audience.
Yes. Now, who have been some of your favorite performers? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. Well, we had Herbie Hancock a few years ago, who I absolutely loved. So you're going to make me think. And here's the thing, I got to tell you, about 2 weeks after the jazz festival happens, people will say, "Well, who was there?" And I go, "Oh my gosh, I have to look back. I can't remember." Because because I move on to the next thing. So I don't know. Herbie Hancock sticks in my mind. I don't know. I don't know.
Realistically, it's a well, depending on what year it is, it's at minimum a 3 to 5 day festival. So you're talking about close to, at times, 20 different acts. So yeah, I can understand why it's hard to remember everybody who's on that stage after the fact.
Park is another one that kind of pops into my head. Hiromi, I love Hiromi, who so I mean, there've just been so many people, that we brought in.
What's the selection process when it comes to picking the performances?
Well, we take a look at a couple of things. What other festivals are doing up and down the East Coast, because routing is important, especially national and international acts. You want to try to catch people, who are going to be routed well. We also take a look at, what does an evening look like? I mean, like, what works well together? And that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, because we just get, I mean, we're already for next year, for next June. As soon as we came out of this June, we started getting emails about next June and pitches for, from agency. So, it's like, how does it work? Who have we presented before? Because you don't have, like you don't want to do the same things unless you're out with a new project, a new sound, because many times the major artists, they, we may have had, like, say, a Herbie Hancock, who we can't afford right now. But, you look at him and go, he's, he's doing his swan song and he has a great new project, or he's infusing, maybe hip hop, or or some sort of percussion or something into, and I'm using he, but the artist is just doing something different with their work. We take a look at, how artists are evolving, especially the major artists. I mean, just watching them evolving. What are they doing new? What new sound are they bringing? So I mean, it is a process, and we just get loads. I mean, I can't tell you how many, especially emails and telephone calls, we get about the, people wanting to perform at the jazz festival. It's an honor, and it's humbling, and it tells a lot about the festival. Our festival has a great reputation among agents and artists.
Yes. Again, you're watching Hats Off with G Jones every Thursday at 8:30. I got the one and only Tina Betz. We are talking about the largest free jazz festival on the Eastern Seaboard, this side of the Mason-Dixon, as I like to call it. Okay. the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. Oh, okay. Now, do you ever look at it and say, "Wow, that's a lot of people"? Like, did you do that this year? It was a lot of people.
Oh my God.
Like, shut down the city. Like, I literally shut down the city. Like, nobody went to work. Like, y'all took off for this. Like, this is
Yeah. And that's the first time it's happened. I mean, I remember, and I can't even remember who the performer was, but it was when the stage was on the 11th Street side. I mean, and the square was packed, Market Street, 10th Street in front of the library, behind the stage on 11th Street. And all of a sudden, people started putting their chairs on King Street, and we hadn't even shut down King Street. So on the spur of the moment, we had to reroute dark buses. We had to, have, our police department, shut down King Street to shut traffic from coming between King Street, between them. It's happened. And it's something you adjust for, and it's a beautiful thing. There have been times when we've done a little game, and how far have you come to attend a jazz festival? And as I said, we've gotten people from all over the world who come to our little city to see the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. Yeah, but this year was like, holy, you know,
and it was hot. They was out there in that sun,
it was the
just.
middle of the day on Saturday afternoon when it was 100 degrees, 100% humidity. There were people sitting in the square, and I kept saying to myself, please, please don't faint. Please keep drinking water. Put up an umbrella, find some shade. But it was it was pretty special this year. This year, one of the special
Well,
years.
and I personally believe the world coming outside of COVID, right? The world opens up, and as the world opens up, like to me, all that opens the door for is what next year is going to be, because people are getting more and more comfortable being outside. So that's just what the world is transitioning to. Now, okay, I only got a few more questions for you because we're running, but I this one, you've worked in that office through a couple different administrations. How can I ask this the right way? Okay. What are some of the things that you've noticed differences in being able to deal with and manage and work and are different than, yeah, how were you able to manage that and evolve through that? Woo, there it is.
No, I mean, we talked a little bit like this. I talked a little bit about this before. You read your audience. So, you try to get to know the person. Are they a hands-on person? Do you need to gain their trust? Are they risk averse? I mean, so you just take some time to get to know who it is you're dealing with, especially, when the person at the top of the ladder, because that's really important. And one of the things that I found that is key is to have people trust you. You know, trust that, not that it's always going to come out perfect, but that you will have done your best to, to make it right and to make it good and to serve the city of Wilmington. So, just gaining that trust that you're going to do the best you can and you're going to work hard. So, I mean, and it's so for each person, it's just different. I mean, Frawley, and I was really young working for Frawley, but I mean, he was different than Baker, and Baker is different than Przicki. So it's just, again, I'm going to do what has been my mantra, for this evening: read your audience
Mm,
and try to figure out who you're dealing with, what they need.
yes. Yes. How would you say now, by the way, oh yeah, by the way, in case y'all don't know another word, that works in all positions. So whether you are in entrepreneurship, whether you are working in a corporate capacity or in a business capacity of any kind, learning how to manage up and knowing your audience is a thing. Okay. If you don't know it, then a lot of times you try to figure out why you're being held back. Sometimes it's because you did, not all the time, but sometimes it's just because you didn't kind of know your audience and how you deliver certain things.
And one other thing I want to mention: it can't be about you. It just can't be about you. You really do need to learn how to take ego and selfishness out of it. And I'm not talking about being selfless. I mean, that, we're human, you know what I mean? But I mean, you just have to learn how to take ego out of it. You also have to, and this comes, I think this comes with time and with, quite frankly, a little bit of age, is you can't take it personally. If somebody says no, no, we're not going to do that, or whatever, whatever it is, that sometimes you just have to go, okay. Now other times you have to go, well, I'm coming back, but there are times when you just have to go, I'm going to back off. I'm just going to back off. I mean, because it can't be about you.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, okay, this is great to me. In that same vein, right? How would you say that you evolved in throughout this time in this artistic world and business?
Well, I mean, age, getting older, definitely, I mean, and you just can't, I mean, how you don't know what that's going to be. 10 years ago, I didn't know, how 10 years of experiences of heartache, of success. I mean, who knows, you don't really know. But I think um, you have to take your you have to be able to be honest with yourself, to do some honest self-assessment every now and then. You have to be willing to evolve. You have to be willing to just evolve. So I just think that's, I think that the staying power is just about just knowing that, just, it's not a constant. It's not a constant. And whether you want it to evolve or not, it's going to. It's going to. So, you know, so you can think that it's not, but it's going to. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think you just have to know that time just goes on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and even in that vein, how do you select your team? Right, a lot of the things that you deal with aren't alone, like you said. It's team projects, it's group projects. How do you kind of select how that's going to work with you and who you choose to kind of be a part of that
Hmm.
journey?
Um, let me let me answer that question using an example. When we're taking a look at artists, who who we're thinking about booking for whatever we're booking them for, whatever it is. One of the first things I look at, G Dash, is their hospitality rider, because the hospitality writer tells you a lot about the person. How much baggage they're coming to the table with is many times written in their hospitality writer. And that's how, for me, that's how I choose my team. If you come to the table with a bunch of baggage, a bunch of ego, a bunch of I don't, a bunch of I needs, it's like, no, that's not, because it does have to be a team, and everybody needs to know their, first of all, not come to the table without the baggage, without the ego, knowing that they're working on a team, and and buying into the shared goal. And sometimes, like when you're working towards that goal, you may think maybe we need to veer left, um, but then the decision is made. Yeah, we could veer left, but we're going to veer right. And then being able to go, okay, I'm going to veer right with you. I thought that veering left was the way, and I may still think that, but the decision has been made to veer right. And because I'm part of a team, that's the way we're going to go. That's what I'm going to support. So, when I think about picking a team, and I've been really, I mean, I've had some um, bad picks, you know, but but for the most, and sometimes you don't even know you have a bad pick until you're like, um, you know,
Yeah.
until um, been really fortunate, and we have so much talent in this city. So many people who want to do the right thing. So many people who are about doing the right thing. And again, not for selfish reasons, but because it's good for the community, that we all serve. So, yeah, you start getting an eye for and a feeling and how to read people and whether or not you want them in your space.
Now, I say this again for those of you in the back. Go ahead, jot that down. There's a list of tips to figure out how you're gonna work with who you're gonna work with, or how to work with how to work with those who you want to work with. Right? It's about best fit in certain areas and making sure that it's not going to feel like a heavy lift. Ugh. So, okay. Now I asked all my guests this. This is the question that one of the questions. This is the pretty much the last question, but I asked all my guests this who are on the show. Very curious. If you had to give advice to a younger version of yourself, right? A young Tina B, just discovering the vocals. You see what I'm saying? She was about to sing. She had the mic, right? She had the paint, but she was there, right? What advice would you give to a younger version of you? Caveat, the year is still 2024 with all the 2024 things. What advice?
That's pretty heavy. Giving advice is a dangerous game to play. It really is. But there is something that I shared a few years ago. Somebody was writing a book, and they were interviewing certain people. I was fortunate to be one of the ones they interviewed, and so I started thinking about what it is I would say, and this was, and I think one of the questions they asked was very similar to the one you just asked, and I remember the time when I told this story just a couple of weeks ago during the dance jubilee that we had at the Urban Arts Exchange. I had gone to an audition in New York at Radio City Music Hall, and it was a cattle call, and there were hundreds of people going out for this audition. And so I stood out there, and I had, clutching my little music. So you go in, and the first thing that happens is you get typed out. Um, you know, uh, Thank you very much. And they hand the people they want to go to the next round of the audition a little piece of paper. And for this particular audition, the next round was a vocal round where you had to sing something. And usually you get 8 bars, maybe 16 bars to sing at these, especially the cattle calls. So I made it through that. And then the next was the dance. Now, dance, I took dance lessons. I mean, my mom sacrificed for me to take dance lessons, ballet lessons, as a matter of fact. But it was never my strong point. It was it was never something I was confident about doing. Um, Especially ballet. So I went into this room, I got passed on to the next phase, the dance part. And so the choreographer, did a short routine that we had to replicate. And then they grouped us into these little groups and they called off names. And there was one, and I can't, it was ballet, like I said, but I can't remember the move exactly, except I knew that it was, it was from one end of the floor to the other end of the floor. And I looked, it was like, oh my God, I don't, it was ballet. I'm not going to be able to do that. I got all into my head. And so G Dash, after waiting in line with hundreds of people, not being typed out, doing my little 8 or 16 bars of whatever, my audition piece was that day, making through that, I stood there in this room and they were calling people in little groups and they called my name, Tina Betz. And I just stood there because I couldn't get out of my head. I didn't think I was going to do whatever this move was, and it wasn't difficult. I just decided I don't want to, I don't think I can do it. So I stood there, they called my name, and I just stood there, it didn't go out. Tina Betz, it didn't go out. So finally, they just moved on, and I just stood there pretending, just looking around, well, where's this Tina Betz? And eventually I was able to sneak out of the room, which I did. I cried for the rest of that day. And it was my own fault. At some point, however, because I thought about that many, many times, and I think it took a couple of years for me to come to this, and this is where the advice comes in. When I thought about it, it was like, if I ever have that chance again, care what the chance is. I will always do the dance. No matter what it is, I will do the dance. Succeed or fail, I will do the dance. So that's my advice to people. Just do the dance. You know, if, if you give it an opportunity, give it your best shot. I mean, if it's something that you worked hard, especially something that you worked hard towards, and I mean, I had worked hard towards. I mean, standing in line at Radio City Music Hall, making through the first three phases, and then deciding not to do the dance. I will never know whether or not, if I had done whatever that choreography was, gone across the floor, I will never know. And that is what bothers me the most, is that I'll never know. Do the dance. That's my
Do
advice.
the dance, the samba, the rumba, the DC WAP, the Cabbage Patch. Okay, y'all better do that dance, y'all. Don't let the dance pass you by. That is amazing. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Do the dance, y'all. Now, this hats off with G-Jones. I listen every Thursday at 8:30, talking to the change makers, the game changers, getting the keys from the gatekeepers. We have the amazing Tina Betz. Now, we have just did an amazing interview. One of the things that I do is I tell people, now I've told you this. Oh, okay, cool. I've been on your stages before. You've never given me a word. I tell people, if you give me a word, I give you a poem. You get to give me a word this time. However, while you think of the word, I want to do what I like to call a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. I said a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Where I give a shout out to some people that are doing some amazing things in and around about town. First and foremost, I'm going to give a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. To, Delaware Music Network. That's a fact. If y'all don't know, we do, Joe Bellardo, Maya Rowland, Shannon Lally, the whole squad. I am a part of it as well. There's a lot of people a part of it, creating a thing. It is now officially a nonprofit. Yes, with the initiative to help build up local artists and musicians and things of that nature. So shouts out to them for becoming that 5013C. Blip, blip, hat tip. Okay, also, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. The Wilmington Library. Okay, listen. I feel like they're on my list every week, but it's because they do something different every week. Okay, listen. Who has Lorenz Tate and Ben Vereen? Okay, who has Lorenz Tate and Ben Vereen together? Okay, they did. Shouts out to Jamara and Carl, as well as they also have the marketing. Won the marketing award. Listen, they just out there killing it right now. Out there killing it. So shouts out to the Wilmington Library. Also, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. I said a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. To Sean Classic in Sneaker City. Why? Because Sean Classic went to Sneaker City because one of his kids at the school needed some help with some sneakers. And what does Sneaker City do? Donate. What Sneaker City cares? They've been around almost 30 years. What they do? They care. So I got to give a quick hat tip to them for doing some things to help the people. Also, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Hey, Gift Connect. Gift Connect, led by Sam Beard. Shouts out to Ty Mathis. They just had a whole little meeting where they were trying to find ways to utilize their services to help kids 0 to 4 be able to read, write, sing, play, touch, all the things. So that's what they do. So if you don't know, that's what Gift Connect is. They are just out there just to help those in that age. Because if they learn how to do those things at an earlier age, they wind up making it so much farther in life automatically. Okay, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Oh, quick hat tip. It's a blessing. What's the word? Yes, she had me. I was a feature on her show last night. Me as well as shouts out to Tierra Marie. We was out there doing our poetry thing, creating a whole cipher and really kind of honing in. So I got to give a shouts out to her. What's the word on the tag that? Shouts out to that hat tip. Blip, blip. Concert Crew, 1994 Collective. Yes, that podcast is coming soon. We broke down the year of 1994. It's fire, and in 1994 has a art exhibit coming soon. I believe they'll be at the MKT Place Gallery. While I'm at it, hat tip, blip, blip, MKT Place Gallery, Sarah Crawford. Wait, why? They had the Tim Burton exhibit. Say what? Yes, a Tim Burton exhibit. Kickback. That was on Friday during the Art Loop. That was an amazing situation to be at. It's a dope vibe. That'll be there through the end of the month. But while I'm here, I'm not done. Hat tip, blip, blip, Art Loop. What? Yes, 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 yes. Oh, it was me, my man Grillo. We was on the van. Shouts out to Public Works. My man Ian Smith. I call him Tahiti. Call him what you want. Listen, we was outside. Miss Vicky, as she mentioned. Oh, riding around to these different art spaces. Met some amazing artists. Did some amazing did some amazing poetry to some of this art that really kind of helped. It was already alive. I hate saying I bring it to life, but what I will say is I add a layer to it that most people don't already have. And we were able to do, I have some footage I can't wait to post because it just was really able to kind of touch people's souls with what we were doing there. So shouts out to all of those involved in that. My man Grillo, my musical accompaniment, as well as you mentioned, listen, Jenny Nathan, as you mentioned, helped start this situation. You, Miss Tina Betz, Tish Williams. Oh, listen, shouts out to both of y'all. My man Jonathan Whitney as well. Your whole squad. Hat tip to them. Blip, blip, hat tip to you, Miss Tina Betz, for being here, being such an amazing interview, and having such a great conversation.
Thank you, G Dash. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so do you have a word for me? It's funny when I watch somebody else do it. Okay, it's so funny when I watch somebody else do it. Okay. Oh, is there anybody you want to give a hat tip to? Anybody shouts out you want to give out to the world?
Well, you know what? I think you hit the high points. My little Tiffany Christopher in my office, Tish Williams in my office, and my whole crew, Jonathan Whitney, Odell from Light Action, and Martin Hargrove. Thank you so much for a great summer at the Urban Artists Exchange. Yeah. Oh, I want to mention Manny Chacon. Anybody who saw the Dance Jubilee that we did, our dance festival. Yeah, Manny. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Manny. Wow.
Manny
Okay.
Sarcone.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Manny. Yeah, Chacon. Thank you.
All right. With that said, okay. So do you have a word for me?
I don't know why this word popped into my head. Pink.
Hey, yo, I that was Shannon Lally channeling his inner pink gumbo coming soon. Listen, he got a quick promo out of that. Shouts out to the pink gumbo. That normally was gonna get a shout out next week on the show, but we'll see. Either way, so we'll take it into an interesting world now. Pink, the color. All right, I'm thinking. Some try to figure out what color happiness is. Some try to figure out what color it looks like when you're trying to understand how much you have to give. I'm not looking for the cost of the color of exhaustion. I don't really want you to try to leave without taking time to breathe, because so many people don't realize the color that comes with too many tricks up your sleeve. See, this right here is something to pinpoint. Some would say that color isn't real, it's just a figment that the comb sees. But what I want you to do is understand that this is what you need to believe. See, these colors can be more than what you can see. See, these colors can touch souls and spirits in ways of which that you can hear it when you're near it. It can just speak to you. It can make sure that you understand that those can believe in you, that those that want to make sure that they can seek and speak to you in ways of which they know that you can hear, to know that they always will be with you. See, this is how it reaches. I'm not here just to preach this. I want to make sure that when I speak this, it doesn't just feel like it's echoing on deaf ears as if it's just a bland speeches. No, these are the words that are speaking through me to you. See, the color of them is not something that I'm made to paint. I'm just trying to help you understand what the color of truth. See, this is not made to be lost in the light of black and white. This isn't just a mere gray area that those tend to point out, typically used to weaponize and spite. This is not something that allows you to walk through the night afraid of the darkness, hidden in fright. No, that's not the color of life. See, what this color is meant to let you know that you can persevere through all of it, even if you got a fist fight left, right, as long as you can make it through, even if you're crawling through it. I promise you, no matter how they try to trick you, you don't have to fall for it. See, what I need you to do is pause and understand why they need you to give, or you can give as long as you can give your heart, your soul, your spirit, and don't be afraid to give your thoughts as you think. See, what I want you to do is understand that the answer is the same as when you're fighting breast cancer. What I mean is sometimes you got to give your hardest fight to that pink.
Thank you.
No problem. no problem. I think I spoke to somebody. I spoke somewhere. I went, that was a thing. So one of those. With that said, thank you so
Thank
much. You have been amazing. Anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
I appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to continuing to work with you and many others in the community. Thank you.
And I look forward to that as well. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing episode of Hats Off with the one and only G Jones. Again, if y'all don't know Miss Tina Betz, well, you do now. And if you missed something, rewind it back. Okay, this is G Jones. I always like to tell people, love yourself first and the rest will fall into place. Y'all have a good evening. Hey.